This is catfish times 2. It's international catfish. Thank you so much for joining me again. Welcome back. My name is Jasmine. Normally I do realistic colored pencil drawings, but you're on my second channel. Please make sure you subscribe if you're not already and turn on the bell notifications so that you can get notified of uploads, because I only upload on this channel 2 times a month. Say hi to the kitty. I'm wearing a black shirt and so you can barely see her. We're gonna tell the story time about Grandma. She's gonna be hanging out with us for a few minutes. She gets kind of antsy when I'm in my office for too long. She's very fluffy. She likes being held like a baby. This video is sponsored by me and my Etsy shop, where you can purchase limited edition prints and quality original artwork. This artwork was produced in my lair with my own hands, my own blood, sweat, and tears, but mostly my tears. People always ask me, what's your advice for drawing? And the secret is tears. If you're not crying, you're not trying. This story is gonna be a 2-part video. There is so much to cover in this story. It might help somebody out there. Are you drooling on me? Gross. Today I am telling you guys the story of my grandma and the internet romance scam. This is a different grandma. This is my other grandma. It's not the grandma from my wedding story time. So my other grandma she's in her 80s so right now. But when this happened around, I think 2008, I believe, because Rocky was about 2 years old at the time. He was pretty young. If you don't know who Rocky is, he's my oldest dog. He's 15. I've had him since he was a baby. Here's a picture of him, just so you know. This was like the same weekend that I was trying to get Rocky to get used to the hair clippers. I remember that very well, and I knew that my grandma was going to be arriving later that day to visit us. I was like, Rocky, we need to get your hair cut. You're gonna get used to these hair clippers one way or another. He was terrified of them, but now he just falls asleep when I cut his hair. He does not care. You're probably familiar with what the term catfish is. This is catfish times 2. It's international catfish. It's tens of thousands of dollars catfish. Now, my family discovered what was going on around 2008, I believe. So by the time this had happened, by the time my grandma was out visiting us, she had been talking to this man on the internet for well over a year. My mom had talked to my grandma on the phone quite a few times before then, and my grandma was telling her all about this man that she was talking to over the internet. The other reason I'm telling this is because it's a very common thing, especially among the elderly. You would think that people that have been alive for that long would not fall for this kind of stuff, but it happens all the time. They're vulnerable, they don't have a spouse, and then that's where this internet person comes in and says, I'm gonna promise you all this stuff, you're gonna get all this money, you're gonna be swimming in money. And desperate individuals, this can easily happen to them. So this information trickled down to my 16-year-old ears at the time. I learned that my grandma was dating some guy online. Not only that, her sister was dating a man online. I don't know the website of where they found these men, but it was definitely something that they were doing. It was for an extended period of time, and by the time we found out, there was thousands of dollars involved. There was a bunch of fraud stuff involved with the bank. It was a whole mess. Constantly keeping in contact with these individuals online through AOL Messenger, email, phone calls. Grandma was more social than I was. My mom had also told me that the man online explained to my grandma that not only was he hit by a car in Nigeria, he had malaria and was in the hospital, so that we could feel sorry for him. Oh, and get this, he had a chest full of money and documents waiting at a London airport. He had a multi-million-dollar inheritance, he told my grandma. Seems legit. I don't even know what the other man told my grandma's sister, but it was a similar list of unfortunate events. These men, they sounded like they were enduring the plague every time they requested money. No multi-millionaire is that unfortunate. Fast forward to summertime. I want to say this was summertime because I'm pretty sure I was on summer break. Rocky was only 2 years old at the time, so I know it was around there. He wasn't very old. My grandma also met my mom's husband for the first time when she came to visit. We're gonna call him Bill. He's not really a relevant person to this story or just in general. My grandma and her sister arrived at our house with 2 full pickup trucks full of furniture. Who owns that much stuff at that age? I just want to know. That's right, guys. They had driven several hundred miles. Keep in mind that these 2 were in their late 60s and early 70s. I don't know anyone in that age range that is willing or has the strength to travel that far. Who has that kind of determination at that age? Their ages make them vulnerable in general, especially when they're traveling. It was just 2 women traveling, driving. My grandma, she had a Facebook years before I did. I didn't know how social media worked, and honestly, if I I hadn't have started a business, I would probably have never used social media. That's why I don't have a personal page. I have 2 business pages. I don't see the point of having a personal social media. There's no purpose to it. I follow very few of my friends online because they don't post anything interesting, so I don't follow them. I don't want to see what you had for breakfast. I don't want to see what you're wearing every single day. I don't need to know that information. Back to the story. In addition to my grandma and her sister driving, my mom also found out that my grandma had sold her father's house. So my grandma's father had passed away. I want to say he was probably around 96. He was pretty old. He built this house with his 2 hands so many years ago. He passed away like the year before my grandma came out, so they made quite a bit of money because it was a house and it was a large piece of land. If they had budgeted it correctly and managed their money and not sent it overseas, it would have lasted them about 10 years to live on. That was a lot of money. The smart thing would have been to save it, move into a small house, and plan accordingly. Even at 16, I thought that the money that they spent could have been spent on other things. It could have been spent other ways. If I had tens of thousands of dollars, my first instinct is definitely not to send it to random strangers on the internet. Bill and my mom were talking to my grandma and her sister. They all get introduced. My grandma starts talking about these men that they've been dating online. She says that they were talking to these men for well over a year, and I was just sitting there being like an observer in all of this conversation. I was just taking it in and letting it sink in because I didn't quite understand why my grandma was dating someone online. That sounded something completely foreign to what she would do. I knew she knew how to use a computer, but I never thought that she would do anything like this. Not only that, she married this guy. She married him over the internet. Never saw him in person. So during their visit, my mom and Bill are trying to explain to my grandma that these people are scammers. It was the undertone of every argument that was going on during the time that they were here. The next day comes, my mom's husband took my grandma and her sister to Western Union, and then when my mom came back from work, he was telling her that my grandma had sent, I think it was around $1,500 at once just to this person over the internet. My mom and Bill started like putting the pieces together. They figured $1,200 here, $200 there, $1,500, sending that over to Nigeria just for whatever reason that these men were requesting it. It was always something different. That money really adds up very quickly. My grandma and her sister were talking to these men on the phone. When the men spoke, I heard it for myself. They had very thick accents. I'm gonna assume that they were Nigerian accents because my grandma was sending the money to Nigeria. I just put 2 and 2 together. That's probably where they were from. They sounded 0% like the men in the pictures on the dating profiles. The men in the profiles were British, like they were white, and the men on the phone sounded like they had heavy Nigerian accents. Pictures are used pretty frequently. These men use certain phrases like "I love you, baby," or "honey," or just really bad grammar, and they keep calling you these pet names to make you connect with them, I guess. So they do build some kind of rapport with them. I have no idea how, but they convinced these 2 elderly women that they were waiting to inherit a multi-million-dollar fortune. I don't remember if it was 10 or just $5 million. I don't think the amount matters, but that was the magic number that made my grandma say, you know what? Yes, I'm gonna send you thousands of dollars at a time. Who could resist that? She didn't have to say it, but by her actions, she essentially said, I'm not going to offer to help my family at all. I don't want to give the grandkids any money. Yeah, she wasn't like that. I can't understand how gullible and selfish people can be, and I found out during this whole situation that they can be very selfish. And it being 2 of them made it worse because they were just feeding off of each other. It was horrible. 2 women in the same family getting scammed at the same time. How much you want to bet it was the same man pretending to be both of them? We'll never know, but that's my speculation. They started arguing with my mom and Bill. My grandma is swearing up and down she is dating a real man, that they have a chest full of money waiting at the airport. My grandma was really expecting this inheritance. If anyone here ever goes to Heathrow Airport in London, maybe you want to look into that. You know, let me know if there's a real life treasure chest there. I would love to know. And again, at this point, we didn't know the exact number of how much money she had sent. We were speculating that she sent at least $5,000 to $6,000, just minimum, which is still a huge chunk of change. I don't have $5,000 or $6,000 laying around. I hate the story time so much because I feel like it would help other people in looking out for this kind of stuff. That people make jokes about the Nigerian prince scam all the time. You guys remember those scam emails that you used to get and you would always delete them? Sometimes those go through. Sometimes those people, they do reach people and they get money out of you. argue. People really do fall for that. Also, this situation really did change the family dynamics at the time. It was always making people argue. What would you expect to happen? How can you expect your family to be okay with all of this? No one that is in their right mind would jump into a stranger's car. Why would you date and marry someone that you've never seen? Stranger danger! What happened to that? Never met these people. No video chat of any kind. Guys, I saw a bunch of messages, and here's some that I found on the scam warning website so you can kind of get an idea of what people fall for. It's very cringy. According to the website socialcatfish.com, if they select attractive photographs, you're more likely to fall hard and fast. Romance scammers participate in confidence fraud and create more financial loss than other online crimes. And according to the website scamwatch.gov, dating and romance scams often take place through online dating websites, but they can also use social media or email to make contact with the person. And that is exactly what happened. My grandma and her sister fell for these men because of the pictures they sent, so they had it in their mind that these were the men that were sending them the pictures. These are the men that they were talking to, and that's unfortunately how a lot of people operate. They see a photo and then they instantly fall in love with it, and they are delusional, and nothing can make them differ from that. Nothing can persuade them to think otherwise. Oh, he's good looking, so he must be trustworthy. But wait, there's more. She was telling my mom and Bill that there is a mansion in Florida. A bonus. She had the address for it and everything. I'm gonna stop here because this video is way too long, and you guys will see part 2 next Saturday. So subscribe and turn on bell notifications, because for the first time I'm gonna be posting videos back to back, just because this is a 2-part story time and I don't want to make you guys wait 2 weeks to see the part 2. There's a whole chunk of information that we are gonna go over, and these are also just really important red flags, stuff that you guys should look out for if you're going to be dating someone online.
Chicken sandwiches with the fries and drink.
This isn't gonna go well.
2 of the regular not spicy combos, a large jalapeno popper, and a large mozzarella stick. 2 deluxe bacon cheeseburger meals. And bucket of tenders, side of mashed potatoes and coleslaw.